A story to you today, and it's dedicated to my partner in crime, Patricia Kelly. 200 acres. Read the following passage, then answer the questions based on what is stated or implied in the reading. The other llama. The boy remembered walking to school each morning along the row of farms that stretched from his house to the school, passing fields, mounds of hills, folds of earth, descending into a distant valley where the Pomo Creek ran during the winter months, and where the waters fed into the rivers and out to the sea. When the sun came up and the air was clear, the hills of grass and wheat looked like dunes, and made him forget he was on his way to school and how much he dreaded his headmaster, who disliked the boy for reasons unknown. It seemed as if no matter what the boy did, his teacher had a natural dislike for him. However, each morning the boy passed the fields along the hills, through the late fall, the leaves turning, the moon rising over the eastern end of the valley, the bitter winters, frost on the grass, the muddy road, spring where the foliage became thick and blocked his view, to the summer when the air smelled of thick grass and the steam of the heat made it seem as if the hills were breathing with their mouths wide open. At a certain vista along the route, the boy stopped and took notice. He searched the horizon, looking for signs of his friends. 2 llamas who lived and grazed on the fields, their brown shaggy coats and elongated necks standing alone as if they were lords governing their own private kingdom. The boy's father told him that the man who owned those 200 acres worked as a lawyer and lived several hundred miles away in the city. The lawyer had planned to build a house on the land, but something had happened to the lawyer. His wife had died, tragically, and heartbroken, the lawyer no longer wanted to build a house. The lawyer's neighbor was old Mr. Portis, a small, hunched man with worn brown skin and an eyeball that strayed. Old Mr. Portis didn't have a telephone or hot water, but he owned cattle, 12 chickens, 4 goats, 2 pigs, assorted dogs and feral cats that roamed the property, and most importantly, 2 llamas. Old Mr. Portis asked the lawyer if the llamas could graze on his fields. He had to keep the llamas separate from the other animals because the llamas could turn aggressive. The 2 men made an agreement, allowing the llamas to roam freely inside his 200 acres. The boy saw the llamas usually every day. Each morning he looked for them, and when he saw their tall heads bobbing over the horizon, fuzzy helmets with pointed ears, he found peace. Not because he liked llamas, but because the llamas, like him, seemed so out of place. The only difference was the llamas had each other, and the boy had no one. He was an only child. When the boy saw the llamas each morning and evening, he waved at them. After a time, they began to recognize him. They approached him by the fence and soon began to walk with him, a parallel track alongside the fence that separated them. The llamas seemed to like his company and respect the fact that the boy was smart enough to keep his distance. The llamas had made a judgment about the boy, and they decided the boy was okay. One morning on his way to school, the boy came to his favorite vista, but he saw no sign of the llamas. He continued to walk to school. Perhaps the llamas were still asleep. Perhaps they were down by Pomo Creek. When the boy sat down to begin his school lesson, he gazed out the window as if by chance he'd see the llamas passing by. The headmaster of his school threw a chalk eraser across the room, which narrowly missed the boy's head. "You spend your time daydreaming," said the teacher. "What good are you?" It was dark that night as the boy walked home. The winter nights held an intensity that made him feel as if he were staggering into a dark cave. The farther he walked, the deeper the cave. He imagined that this was what blind people saw, and it scared him because he wondered how the llamas navigated during moonless nights. After an hour of walking, he saw the light from his parents' house, the fire burning with smoke coming out of the chimney, his mother preparing dinner. "Why are you late?" his father asked him. Like his headmaster at school, the boy could never please his father. 2 weeks passed, and the boy saw no sign of the llamas. One afternoon, instead of going to school, his father drove him into town to help with errands. It was a special treat to miss school, and once in a while, when his father was feeling optimistic, he asked his son to accompany him. His father was a carpenter and a woodworker. He made caskets for the local church. He delivered 2 caskets, and then he and the boy went to the market. They shopped for provisions and loaded the truck. The boy was hungry, so his father bought him a piece of beef jerky. The father and son sat on the steps of the grocery looking at the people on the street passing by. It was nice to sit silently with his father on the steps of the grocery, daydreaming and not worrying about his lessons in school. The grocer came outside and asked his father where he lived. His father told him he lived off of Pomo Creek. The grocer said he heard about the problems they had up on Pomo Creek. "What kind of problems?" the father asked. "Oh, those 2 llamas," said the grocer. The grocer told the boy and his father what had happened. According to old Mr. Portis, the owner of the llamas, the lawyer with the 200 acres decided to dig for a well. He wanted to see if it were possible to still use the land, so he ordered someone from the city to come out to dig. The lawyer didn't tell old Mr. Portis. He didn't see why he had to. "That's the problem with these city folks," said the grocer. "They don't understand that when you drill a hole for a well, you drill at an angle to the earth. But the city folk, they drove a huge hole into one of the hilly mounds, straight down 90 degrees. At some point, one of the llamas fell into the well. No one knows how long the llama was down there because the well diggers had stopped work, and old Mr. Portis was used to not seeing the llamas for days on end. Eventually, Mr. Portis hiked out to see if he could find the llamas. He came upon a hilly pasture and discovered one of the llamas lying sideways on the ground. Mr. Portis heard the animal breathing, moaning, distressed, but not in any physical danger. That's when Mr. Portis noticed the well. He crooked his head and looked down inside, 20, 30 feet deep, and there he saw the companion llama. The animal was dead, its neck clearly broken. Later, old Mr. Portis contacted the lawyer from the city, and they both agreed to bury the llama in the hole rather than try and hoist the heavy animal out of the well. The 2 men agreed that his animals would no longer use the 200 acres. The problem was the other llama, said the grocer. Old man Portis couldn't keep the llama because llamas couldn't be alone. Llamas needed company. And besides, asked the grocer, as if the answer were apparent, what good are llamas anyway? The boy started to cry. His father turned and then hit the boy in the side of his head with the palm of his hand. "Don't be a girl," the father said sternly. The boy muffled his tears, but could not eat his beef jerky. Later that afternoon, he got into the truck with his father, and they drove the winding country roads back home again, past the school, alongside the hills where the llamas used to roam. He assumed that old Mr. Portis shot the llama rather than buy another llama, or perhaps he gave the llama away to another farmer, somewhere else in another part of the world. The boy looked at his father as they drove into his barn and parked the truck. He knew he belonged to a herd that he didn't understand, nor one that understood him. In later years, when he grew up and eventually made a life for himself in the city and lost contact with his parents, he thought of that other llama, daydreaming about life and what he should do with himself, what would happen to him, where he would live, and how he would survive. He never knew what happened to the other llama, much like he never knew what happened to him, the boy who is now a man. It was a question that would haunt him forever, a question that had no answer. Now, answer the following questions, choosing the most suitable response. Question 1. The author implies in this story, A, the boy disliked his parents. B, he felt closest to the llamas. C, the llamas were not that smart. D, all of the above. E, none of the above. Question 2. The word foliage most nearly means A, the reflection of light from the sun. B, a mental blindness where close objects appear farther away. C, natural holes where birds hide from predators. D, a supernatural verdant expression of life. Or E, none of the above. Question 3. The boy stops eating his beef jerky after he learns the fate of the llamas because A, his father just hit him. B, his father hit the boy very often and his jaw hurt. C, the boy was too busy wondering what happened to the other llama that he forgot about his beef jerky. Or D, all of the above. Question 4. The final 2 sentences in the final paragraph relate to A, the father, B, the boy, C, the llamas, D, all mankind, or E, none of the above. And question 5. Who, in fact, is the other llama? A, the boy, B, the llama that survived, C, the reader, D, the writer, or E, all of us. Thank you.